Now, let's proceed with the next special presentation. The topic is Islamic Financial Services Industry Stability Report 2021-2022. And we would like to invite Dr. Rifki Ismail, Assistant Secretary General, to present the report. Dr. Rifki, dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellencies, Honorable, my fellow colleagues, it's an honor for me to represent FSB, particularly my Secretary General, Dr. Bello, who is still on the plane, and he sends his regard to all of us because he wished to arrive in Kuala Lumpur in the morning, but due to some unforeseen condition, he cannot come, but inshallah I'll do my best to represent him and FSB with regard to the development of Islamic finance industry, which has been recently issued in the form of our IFSB Stability Report 2022. Okay. Which one? Okay. Which one? Sorry. Can you go next? Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, as I mentioned, we have just recently published the IFSB Stability Report 2022. You can have it. You can have soft file of it in our booths, and you can also download it in the FSB website. It is, to be honest, the annual flagship publication of the FSB. It captures development of emerging issues related with the stability and resilience of Islamic finance industry. Mainly three sectors: Islamic banking, Islamic capital market, and takaful sectors. Next, please. Next. Okay. I will just simply explain about the structure, but I'm going to elaborate more on the content of the stability report itself. So mainly, if you later on have the hard copy or the soft copy of this report, you are going to have 4 chapters actually in the report. We assess the development of Islamic finance, and then we assess the resilience of Islamic finance industry, the emerging issues in Islamic finance, and lately, or last but not least, is the global development of Islamic finance. So, as an introduction as well, what is the uniqueness of this stability report compared with other standard setting bodies' regular report? Yeah? So, this FSB stability report comes from our members. The data, the information, those come from IFSB members, in which we have so far 188 members coming from 57 countries, and out of 188 we have 81 regulators. So Alhamdulillah, I think and I believe this report might be very reliable because the data straight away come from the regulator. We do not take it from like a website or like unpublished or unknown sources. We got it directly from the regulator. That's why I mentioned hopefully this report will be very reliable, and it has been in a couple of publications. So this year is the 2022 publication. Next, please. So next, this is the main highlight of the report. So Alhamdulillah, up into the December 2021, we still face the growth of Islamic finance of 11.3%. Alhamdulillah. So despite the pandemic in the last 2 years, the global Islamic finance still positively grows, Alhamdulillah. What is the amount of the total Islamic finance? As you see, it is amounted 3.06 trillion, or we can say 3.1 trillion. Alhamdulillah, despite the decreasing of economic performance, the shrinking of conventional or other kind of Islamic finance system, but Islamic one still grows positively. Alhamdulillah. This is a very good achievement for the global Islamic finance, for all of us who are the stakeholder of Islamic finance. There are headwinds and tailwinds. Of course, I believe all of you also recognize these type of factors. For example, I just want to highlight some of the headwinds: the uneven access of the COVID-19 vaccine, and then Russia-Ukraine conflict, of course, until now, the spillover effect of financial tightening in advanced economies, rising oil and commodity prices, exchange rate volatility, financial stability risk, political impasse, social unrest and civil conflict, climate change risk. Even these are only some factors that cause this type of headwinds. But despite this one, there are also tailwinds. Yeah? For example, reopening and recovery of many economies, increased digitalization, increased stability, sustainability-linked investment, increased mergers and acquisition, limited direct exposure to Russia and Ukraine conflict. So, uniquely in the IFSB, in every activity, we usually conduct a survey to our members. Not only because we are having three types of members, the permanent members, the observer, and then the associate members. So we usually conduct survey to our members, which represent countries, of course. We ask them, how is the development of Islamic finance in your jurisdictions? How do you treat the COVID-19? How was your regulation with regard to the economic downturn, the imposition of post-pandemic and everything? So we have got a lot of information from our members. So we highlight in the report. Next, please. So if we go in detail, what I just tell you about the number and the growth of Islamic finance, if we take a look from three sectors, as I mentioned, in Islamic banking, alhamdulillah, the growth rate is counted 11.1%, and it is 68% out of the total Islamic finance sector, Islamic banking, ICM, and takaful. And then Islamic capital market, the growth is 11.6% with the share of 30.5%. This is counted the second rank of Islamic finance sector. Of course, there are a lot of sectors beside these main three sectors, but we notify, and based on the mandate of the FSB, we issue standard, we issue research, and we issue some of the benchmark or reference with regard to these three sectors: Islamic banking, Islamic capital market, and takaful sectors. Lately, takaful sector, it is still growing, alhamdulillah, 5.2% with the share of 0.8%. But I can also have some clarification that this is based on our PCV's data. What do we call it? Prudential and Structural Islamic Finance Indicator. You can have a look in our website. We have well advanced data for Islamic banking. So this one is up into December 2021 data. The second, not to say less updated, but we just start to collect the data for ICM and takaful sector. So in total, we have 28 countries, regulators, submitted their data to this system. Next, please. And then if we go again, a more deeper, yeah. For example, based on the region, we identify GCC as the dominant region in the world, yeah, contributing to the development of the world Islamic finance, which is 52%, 52.4% of the total global Islamic finance asset, followed by Southeast Asia region, 23.5%. Of course, Malaysia is one of them, and then Middle East and South Asia, followed by Africa and others. And then you can have a look in the next slide. We identify 15 jurisdictions, which is counted as the, globally systemic Islamic finance region or countries. So we identify countries which are having above 1.9 trillion US dollar asset as a very systematic countries having Islamic finance. So we need to focus on these countries because they are having huge share and very well advanced development of Islamic finance. So as we write there, systematically important jurisdictions, and 15 of them, you can have a look which countries are there. And then Islamic banking asset, 94% of Islamic banking asset are concentrated in the top 3 regions. As I mentioned, in GCC, Southeast Asia region, and Middle East and South Asia region. And then 82.5% of sukuk outstanding in 2021 were in jurisdiction where Islamic banking is systematically important. Next, please. So this table just to give a more detail in every sector, in every region. For example, in GCC, Islamic banking is noted 1.2 trillion US dollar. Alhamdulillah, the biggest among other regions. Outstanding sukuk 0.3 trillion, Islamic funds asset 0.46 billion, and takaful contributor only 12.7 billion. But again, the takaful sector is up into the Q4 2020. But the rest, like Islamic banking, is up to Q4 2021. So inshallah, the most recent data. And then GCC dominates 52.4% of the total share of Islamic banking in the world, followed by Middle East and South Asia or MISA. Total Islamic banking asset 0.47 trillion, and sukuk outstanding 26 billion, Islamic fund asset 22 billion, takaful contribution 5.6 billion. And then Southeast Asia this also dominates the industry, followed by Africa and others. You can have a look in our stability report. This is just to highlight the main figure of the current data of Islamic finance. So if we take a look at the history, how is the history of Islamic finance so far? Next, please. If you take a look at 2019 figure, it was before COVID, I believe. If we can say that, before COVID, yeah, we noted 2.44 trillion total asset of the global Islamic finance. And then alhamdulillah, it grew 11.4% into 2.75 trillion US dollar in 2020. And then still, alhamdulillah, grew 11.3% in 2021 to reach 3.1 trillion. So we can be proud of having Islamic finance industry, even though it probably goes very slowly, but still positive and still show a promising development. Next, please. So this is the one that I promised you. There are, next please, 15 jurisdictions in the world having the systematically important Islamic banking industry. You can have a look. There are Iran, Sudan, Saudi Arabia, and then Brunei, Kuwait, Malaysia, Qatar, Bangladesh, and this one, Pakistan, Palestine, Oman. You can have a look. These are countries having above 1.9 trillion US dollar total Islamic banking asset. So they can be considered as very critical countries having well advanced Islamic banking industry. And then on the right hand side, there are shares of global Islamic banking asset. So, So there are mainly of 4 regions. Again, Saudi, Iran, Malaysia, and UAE dominates the share of Islamic banking. Next, please. I think I have mentioned based on quarter quarterly performance, of course, up into Q4 2021, 2.1 trillion US dollar. And then again, just to confirm that the growth of Islamic finance, at least year on year, yeah, based on total assets 6.6%, financing 8.1%, and deposit 7.3%. Next, please. And then the financing to deposit ratio. This is to show us that how robust the performance of Islamic banking, how active our Islamic banking in giving financing to the real sector. Alhamdulillah, despite the pandemic, we can see based on countries, they're still facing a positive performance, positive growth, even if we count like more than 100% growth of the financing to deposit ratio, we can find Morocco, Nigeria, UAE, even some countries you can have like Oman, they are having above 100% growth of financing to deposit ratio. Next, please. And then based on return on asset, return on equity, they're still having a positive trend despite the pandemic. And post-pandemic, we believe that we are now facing, inshallah, the post-pandemic. And then you can see down here, the global Islamic banking average capital adequacy ratio still now going rebound to the period nearly before pandemic. And then global Islamic banking asset non-performing financing, it is now under control as well. And then again, the currency funding to financing, it's also almost, there is no effect because of the pandemic. This is a good news for us. Next, please. In the capital market, we can also see, these are the data tabled in our stability report. The total outstanding of Sukuk, it reached 800 billion US dollar. Still, alhamdulillah, growing. It's also showed in the graph, in the figure. The issuance also still very positive, nearly 200 issuances per year, up to last year. And also by the issuers, sovereigns and corporate are the dominant issuers of Sukuk. Based on countries, of course, Saudi, Malaysia, and Indonesia are the dominant issuers. And by corporate one, Malaysia, Saudi, and Turkey are the most active corporates in the world issuing Sukuk. Next, please. So these are also asset under management, still positive, even under asset management and non-asset under management is now exceeds the asset under management. So it is showing a good progressive and good promising of Islamic finance. And then still the total asset under management by country, Saudi, Malaysia, and Jersey dominates the entire world for Islamic finance. Sector under allocation, you can see. Of course, this is based on the pandemic in which we usually communicate digitally. So the digital sector, information sector, and these are the most dominant sector in the world for Islamic finance activities. Next, please. Other Sukuk trends, just very quick. Basel III Sukuk issuances, we can find here. Still, we issue some Basel III compliance Sukuk. Yeah, still even exceeds the tier 2 Basel III Sukuk. Based on countries, we can see Saudi, Kuwait, UAE, and others are dominating this type of Basel III compliant Sukuk. And also sustainability. We talked about sustainability before. We also do. I mean, we means Islamic finance. We also take part in this sustainable related Sukuk issuances. If you can see, even it grows, still growing. Subhanallah. And then the takaful sector, I believe this is the last part. Yeah, the takaful sector. Next, please. We can notify that Saudi, Iran, and Sudan are the three most dominant countries having 100% share of takaful sector. So we need to congratulate this country because of the very active development and acceleration of takaful sector. And then the growth, of course, you can see there. It is now reaching 24.2 billion US dollar, yeah, with a cumulative growth of 4.72%. So the last one is the policy recommendation. So based on 2021 Islamic finance performance assessment, we identify and we recommend, next please, some of the things needs to be pondered. First, tough legacy contract must be dealt with to minimize Islamic finance exposure to financial risk. I do believe that all of us recognize that LIBOR was abolished last year, based on December 2021. They are now being abolished. So even IFSB, IFM, and IOF, we are now collaborating to deal with this, to come up with Islamic finance benchmark. How do we deal with this? Because there is no more LIBOR. While we usually refer, not to say that we are not Islamic, we are Islamic, what we use LIBOR as one of the benchmark, just a reference. So we need to have tough contract to deal with the current Islamic finance contract. Islamic finance must also have fallback mechanism to an alternative benchmark, including in the contract. The technology infrastructures needs to be updated, because we are now facing post-pandemic in which the digitalization is now being expected by the market, and a comprehensive governance framework is needed to identify, measure, monitor, and control financial and non-financial risks in the transition period. And Islamic banks, regulators need to continue collaborating with Sharia scholar. I believe this was also mentioned in the previous section. Sharia scholar or Islamic scholar is now having more role after the pandemic, because we are now facing more challenges in developing Islamic finance. I believe that is all from the FSB side. I thank you so much indeed for your kind attention. So inshallah, see you in the next future. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you to Dr. Rifki. And now we would like to invite Tuan Haji Makhtar Abdullah to present the memento. Thank you.